Happy Wednesday, folks. We have a lot of interesting things in the news. It's Steve Hoskins from Dallas, Texas.
And Mandy Baldwin from Kent in England. And we've got some news about the French, who are being completely mad as usual.
Oh, the frogs are misbehaving again.
They are. They're jumping around like crazy. They are jumping around like crazy. Yes. I think you've got the link to it. The latest is that the Channel Islanders, the Channel Islands are a group of islands in between Britain and France, which are actually part of Britain. And they have, just after, immediately, within a couple of hours of Brexit on Friday night, they had banned French fishermen from going into their waters. And the French are very annoyed about it because they like stealing our fish. And the latest thing is they've threatened to set light to British boats in retaliation, which I think you've got the link to that, haven't you, Stephen?
Yeah, let me get that loaded up. Just 1 second. Here we go. French fishermen locked out of UK waters since Brexit Day threatened to torch British boats.
Well, there you go. This explains 1,000 years of warfare between us and the French. This is probably why it's a really good idea that there was that tsunami that separated us from the French. Because there you go. They're not allowed to steal our fish, so they're going to set light to our boats. And this is sort of the French all over, you know. Obviously, an independent country isn't going to let people have access to their waters, you know. But the French, they like setting light to things. This is what they do. They won't do anything. They won't do anything democratically. You can bet your life they won't vote for Marine Le Pen or do anything, you know, like that. But they're going to steal our fish or set light to our boats. And this is, you know, we had the scallop wars. Was it last year? We had the scallop wars where they were throwing bits of rock and everything at our fishermen. And now they want to basically invade other people's waters and steal all their fish. And it's just so very French. Because you've got the gilets jaunes. I mean, I don't know, what do you think about the gilets jaunes?
Well, they're good at burning things, such as Paris.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And defacing their own war memorials.
Yeah. Well, at least they almost got to Macron the other day.
They did, but only at a theatre, and then it didn't last long, didn't it? It did. I mean, they didn't sort of stuff him and use him as a piñata or anything, which is what he deserves. It just seems to me they've been spending a year throwing things at each other and setting light to their own city, and I just think it's a weird mentality because it's their city. Why are they setting light to their city? You know, it's their city. They're not getting near little Macron. The way you can get near Macron is by voting him out. Do you see what I mean? Not destroying your own city, because your city belongs, the city belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to the little puffed up Napoleon who's hiding away in the Elysee Palace. So yeah, they're very much into setting lights to things. They're also into spraying poop all over the place. I believe you've got a video of this. This is their latest thing. Again, probably triggered by Brexit. There is a thing, the Common Agricultural Policy, which means that the member states who can afford to, whether they can afford to or not, they're deemed able to afford to, support the others, and it's towards supporting their farming. And the French have taken, since we were in the European Union, the French took 96%, just think about that, 96% of common agricultural funding from the European Union, because they divide up their land and they divide it and divide it and divide it. They don't keep large viable farming units. They just divide everything up till they've got 2 goats and a chicken, and they reckon they've got to be subsidized so that They, you know, we make 6 cheeses a week, so you know we're a viable enterprise. So that's what they do, and they're probably, the French farmers are probably really annoyed that that particular gravy train has ground to a halt now, because we're out and we are the milk cow, and that money is going to come from somewhere to make up what we were giving, and a lot of it's going to come from the French. So this is, I believe you've got a video of what they're up to at the moment, spraying. What they're doing, the French farmers, is spraying cow poo and pig poo and any other poo they can get hold of over town squares, over offices, generally anywhere except where it deserves to go, which is in Macron's face. They're just sort of spraying it around. It's sort of like a tantrum, you know, and it all looks very dramatic, and it all looks quite appealing when you hate your government. But
well, they should get artistic and make his face out of the manure from Manure Macron.
Well, yeah, or storm the barricades big time, get into the Elysee Palace and spray that with poo. I mean, you know, but not their own towns. This is their own towns, and their own people are going to have to clear it up, and this will mean that come election day, people aren't going to vote for whoever they support, is it? You know, doesn't it? So have you got that video? Because that really is a sight for sore eyes. French farmers spraying poo mindlessly, we know it for no apparent reason.
All right, let me load that up.
Okay.
We are.
See, there we are. We're seeing the French doing what they do best, which is much sound and fury signifying nothing. They are spraying, basically they're spraying shit all over their own cities. There is no reason for this. It's not going to achieve anything. They are just annoying people, which will mean that when it comes to doing what really counts, which is the vote, people will carry on voting for the establishment. You know, they're not actually spraying this at Emmanuel Macron. And I don't know what they're getting at. What are they doing? What is it for? You know, they're all opposed to the Gilets jaunes, reckon they're opposed to Macron, but what is their political slant, really? Do you know what I mean? What is their political slant?
I think it's an allusion to Manure Macron. I don't see that it does any good. It does no good.
Exactly. I mean, you know, they've got to actually get rid of Macron. You know, but they won't do it. They don't actually vote for Marine Le Pen. They've got a superb leader there, but they don't actually vote for her. And of course, the farmers in particular, who make an awful lot of noise in France, they get an awful lot of money out of the EU, so they're not going to, you know, they're not going to go wild to get out of the EU. Even though I do know that there are Gilets jaunes whose objective is Frexit. I believe that, you know, you've got a picture of a Frexit man there somewhere kicking around in your files. But yeah, it just goes to show it's a very good thing that there's that stretch of water between us, I think, because we have very different outlooks on things.
Frexit man, and you know, I like their zeal, but you know, instead of setting light to the city of lights, they should be voting for Le Pen, as you mentioned before.
Yeah, exactly. I think very often with the French, there's there are two things going on here. They would like to be independent. They would like to be an independent France, but at the same time, they've done quite well out of the EU. So they do well. The farmers do well out of it. The farmers do amazingly well out of it, and the fishermen are able to steal our fish. So that's not going to make them very keen on Brexit, is it? Do you see what I mean? So it's the two things. Also, the French I believe the French are the third largest contributors. Well, now they're the second largest contributors. But until Friday, the Germans were the biggest contributors. They chipped in 14 billion a year. We chipped in 12 billion a year, which is actually more per head because there are only 64 million of us and there are 90 million Germans. So it's actually we gave slightly more. The French have got about the same population as us, and they only give 5.5 billion. And in return, their fishing industry and their farming industry is propped up. So they don't have that much incentive, do they? Do you see what I mean? It's got to be purely about the patriotic vote. And there's also, they have, I don't think they're that happy about putting a woman in office. Marine Le Pen is female, so they might adore her and all the rest of it, but they don't necessarily want to elect a woman. I hate to use the word, but I think they're somewhat sexist.
I wonder how much of the population is actually subsidized with those little tiny 2-goat farms.
Quite a lot. They've got quite a big farming section, and they also have a big benefits section as well. I lived in France for 5 years, and the wealthiest people I met, the people who had the best lifestyle, were actually on benefits, which is astonishing but true. You know, and they don't encourage entrepreneurialism or anything. Anyone self-employed has to pay a year's tax up front, estimated up front. I mean, it's nearly, nearly 2,000 euros up front before they've earned a penny. And then they have to pay 51% in tax of their income. This is ridiculous. It's going to kill entrepreneurialism. So, and so does the benefit system. I knew people there who were having their mortgages on 2 properties paid by the state, as well as being kept better than they would be if they were working. So they have so they're pretty much a mess, and anything that will actually sort them out, they will throw a tantrum over it and they'll set light to something else. So I don't know what you're going to do with the French.
They have no incentive.
They don't have a lot of incentive. They don't have a lot of incentive to change, and it's a shame because the French are actually really nice people as individuals. They're very nice people, but the system is very messed up, and they will violently resist any attempt to really change it. You know, so.
Well, we're running short on time for this particular section episode. But if everyone would leave their comments as to what they think about this and leave suggestions for other videos for us to make. I believe tomorrow we'll be doing the State of the Union address that Trump gave last night.
Yes, which apparently was mind-blowing. It was really, really excellent. So well done, Trump. So, okay, hope you've enjoyed this and it's given you food for thought, if only to be annoyed at the French. So happy Wednesday, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. And that's goodbye from me in Kent.
And from Stephen in Dallas. Until next time.